Hey everybody, welcome to TST Garage. I'm Bart. Today I will be demonstrating the procedure for the installation of the TST Industries Nexus signals on a Kawasaki Ninja motorcycle. These signals fit many modern Kawasaki Ninja models. We do have a complete listing on our website of which models they fit. If this video is not of your motorcycle, chances are we already have the installation instructions for your model as well. So check that out on our YouTube channel. I won't get too detailed on the description of this technology. We do have a separate video covering all the nuances and specs, and we dive a little deeper into how this was designed, what the motif was, and all of that stuff. So that link will be provided to you in the description of this video. Hopefully you'll follow that and check out some more specs. What you see here is the right-hand signal. It is designated right. The left-hand signal is designated left for ease of installation. These are plug and play, so no fuss there. You unplug the OEM unit, you plug this in, you're good to go. The physical installation is also through the means of replacement of OEM parts. The same exact procedure that you would use to replace, let's say, a crashed up OEM component mounts this in your bike. Now in this video, we will show you the exact procedure step by step for how to mount this on your bike. So hopefully you'll follow along and find this easy enough and get these things mounted on your bike. Let's get started. Okay, so the first step will consist of the removal of this underbelly. Second step will be the mid shroud from within the scoop here. Those parts have to come out and they're common to the installation of both side components. Then we will diverge into the steps necessary for the individual left and right side component disassembly and reassembly with our TST Industries parts. Down here, we will have to remove these two fasteners using a 4mm Allen, and subsequently using a 5mm Allen. We'll move on to the removal of this fastener back here. This fastener does come off with a shoulder spacer. Please make sure you retain that set together. And notice here how I'm removing the fasteners but leaving them close to where they go back in. This enables me to reassemble very quickly and without errors. The right side of the bike basically follows the same scheme, same fasteners. Once you clear all the fasteners out of these components, there are still clips here and here that connect them to the upper part. Once you clear those out of their windows, those are free to come out. Okay, here in the scoop area, we have two 4mm Allen head screws that need to come out, and then 4 push fasteners on each side. Push fasteners are this type, where you press in the center to unlock it, and then you pry it out, and it comes out. It's gonna be difficult for us to show you within the bike where the locations are. So once I take that component off, then I will present it to you. Let's start with the Allen head screws. After all those fasteners are removed, I'm going to start from the bottom here. Start prying up. And all of that just comes out. There are tabs here up front that tab into this component, so that will have to be pushed back a little bit. And then we start from the other side, and boom, it comes out. So the locations for the push fasteners are here, 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 and here. Both sides are symmetrical. That's pretty much it. Now at this point, we will start focusing only on the left-hand side components. For the time being, we are going to have to remove the seats. For the driver's seat, there is a pull tab on a cable here. Now we've exposed the fastener here for this panel. This has a 8mm hex head. Let's go ahead and remove that. And also the 4mm head fastener here just under the Kawasaki name on the tank. Now I'll start in the aft section here. There are a number of push fasteners that interlock with rubber grommets all along here. So we need to clear those. One at a time works best. Nice and gentle. And that's pretty much it. There are 4 of those friction fasteners here that interlock with these. And then there are several tabs that align with windows. And there's also a slide lock here that slides into here. This will be important in the reassembly. I'll show that in detail. Now we can actually start working on this panel that will have to come off in unison. All of this stuff will come off. We'll start in the aft section again. 2 4mm head fasteners. Now don't confuse this one for this one. This one here interlocks this component to the outer fairing. We want to get the one that fastens this entire section to the frame. Now moving down to right here, there's another one of these that will need to come out. And going all the way up to here, just under the left bar. Same head. Okay, we have one more, and it's within the scoop area. It's right here. That comes out, and now this fairing will be free to come off. We're going to start in the aft section one more time. Release the same kind of friction fasteners that go into rubber grommets. Make sure you support this fairing well, because once you release all the friction fasteners from here and the one just under here, right here, this will want to just come down. There are just a few extra ratcheting clips over here, and then that's it. Now the whole assembly is hanging from the connection, the electrical connection of our signal. There is a tab in this plug that could be pressed, but I find it much easier to release the tab with a small, tiny flathead screwdriver. The other thing that can be done, you can actually slip this connection off the keeper. The female plug rests on this tab here. If you slip it off, now you have a little bit more room to work with. I'm kind of impartial to one way or the other. This is the tab that you can press in to release that, or you could jam a screwdriver under here, and that provides a much easier way of releasing that connection. Here on the inside of this fairing, we have 3 Phillips head screws here that will release the left side signal lamp. And before we get to that, we will need to release the actual wire from these components here, these routing guides, cable management routing guides. There are 2 ways to do this. I will show you both of the ways that I typically use. One is basically to just cut it off, and then you pull out the excess, trim it flat, and for reinstallation you pass another zip tie through there, and that provides you with that cable management. The other way, which is more conservative, is just to release the tab. And once you release the tab on the ratchet that holds the strap in, you could push the excess through. This is a little bit more time consuming, but is the most OEM-like way to reroute these wires. Anyway, once you get that through, there's yet another clip here. I'll do this. I will remove these components, even though it is not necessary for the actual installation on this bike, but I will not have a good way of showing you guys how this is done unless I take this portion off. So here we have one more of these cable management clips. I will remove it in the conservative way. And once the wire is released, we can now go ahead and pull out the remaining 2 fasteners here. The first one came out of here along with this bracket. All right, now this lamp can come out, and we will pick the left side Nexus lamp to install in the same location here. And we basically just reroute everything the way the OEM cables were routed. All right, now we can replace these Phillips head screws. This last one receives the screw butt through this bracket. And before I tighten down on all this stuff, I check to make sure that everything is aligned properly. And it looks like it is, so let's tighten it down. All right, and now I will feed this wire through this cable management guide here. Do the same thing, get it re-engaged, zip it in. And this last one, like I said, cut it off, so it'll need a new zip tie in there. Just like that. And now this assembly is ready to go back on the bike. So we'll start that process. It is essentially the reverse of disassembly. We just have to keep in mind that there are going to be simultaneous alignments necessary. We have this tab here that will interface with this little window here. Then we have these ratcheting tabs that will go in and snap up in these windows. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of the tabs, the studs that go in these rubber grommets. So let's get this plug back on the keeper and plug this in. And now we will start alignment at the front. And like I said, ensuring that all those different features here align together. Now, as I align these 2 tabs with their windows, I'm not pushing in just yet. I'm making sure that the stud that's underneath this location here is actually aligned with its grommet. And then I will push everything in together. Now, another pointer here is that the painted piece of this fairing needs to sit on top of the inner black fairing for proper assembly. Once everything is assembled the way I just described, we can go ahead and go up the line towards the aft section and get all of our rubber interference plugged in. All those rubber grommet studs are now pushed in, and this is keeping itself on the bike. Before we start putting any sort of fasteners in, I'm going to test this system. As you can see, we have hyperflash. This is a situation very typical to changing the OEM signals from a regular incandescent bulb that draws a bunch of current to LED type signals that draw much less current. And your signaling system is just trying to alert you that you're drawing much less current, typically associated with signal not functioning. So what do? You could possibly dump resistors in parallel with all of your signals, or you could just change your OEM flasher relay to one of these RLY G2F flasher relays that we supply. Since you're at this point in your assembly, you can back up if you've purchased one of these units, and I'll show you where this sits and how easy it is to install. This little guy here, you just slip it up and off its frame keeper. You unplug it, plug one of our relays in, and put it back on the frame here and zip tie it to the frame. Unfortunately, the Kawasaki relays have this over molded rubber piece that can't be extracted. You could technically fit both together over this, but that's kind of cumbersome. So I just usually fit a little zip tie around this component and the frame keeper, and that keeps it put. The flash rate on these relays is adjusted to 85 cycles per minute. When they come to you, if you slip off the cap, you can access an adjuster that will give you fine-tuning capability of that flash rate. We do have a separate video showing the installation and rate adjustment for this relay, so I'm not going to drone on about it here. I just wanted to get that on and make sure that we have proper flash rate once we plug this in. As you can see, we're flashing at the appropriate rate now. So we can reinstall everything. Once we get this all back together with all the friction fasteners popped in, let's start at the front and replace all of the fasteners that we've taken out to make this possible. Now, a lot of these fastener pairs are screws from the outside and rubber well nuts on the inside. The thing about well nuts is that there is no hard bottom. These screws do not bottom out. You're mushrooming a rubber overmolded piece on a fastener, so you definitely don't want to look for hard bottom. You got to get enough friction in there, and once you feel some resistance, you let it go. Otherwise, you'll strain the rubber and these things won't last you very long. I'm going to go ahead and get this component in place. What I like to do is get this area in first, then this tab to interlock into the window here, and then this will have to go in and slide up. And then once again, we interlock all of the friction fasteners into the rubber grommets and start replacing the hardware. During the tightening here, what I like to do is press together my plastic pieces so that I don't induce big gaps or anything like that. All right, now we can hop on over to the right side and repeat basically the same steps, but on that side of the bike, and then we'll go back and put together all the common components that go in the underbelly and in the scoop area. Now we will repeat the same exact steps on the right side of the motorcycle. As you can see here, we do have a slightly different looking setup. It doesn't have that big foam deflector piece. It's going to be a little bit easier to work on, but still we do have two of these cable management clips here. So let's open them up first. Now I'll grab the new Nexus lamp designated for the right side, get it in place, make sure I achieve the same wire routing here. All right, now this fairing and lamp ready to go back on. Plug it in and we will basically jam in the reverse order of disassembly. Get Get this plug set seated back on that keeper. And again, moving from front to aft, we will align all those features. And once the fairing is self-supporting, test it, and we're good to go. Let's get the fasteners back in. All right, at this point, we will replace the scoop shroud here. We'll first tab in these tabs to interface with this fairing on the inside, and then we will carefully lay this in along the edge, the leading edge here of this fairing. There are a sequence of clips that need to clip together. You just have to be patient with those components there. So like I said, tab it in first, and then line it up here. And when you start pressing it together, they all just seem to fall into position, as long as you're gentle. All right, now that's looking good. Each one of these push fasteners will have to be reset, which means for the removal, the center goes in. Reset means the center pops out. Now we grab it like this, replace it in the hole that receives it, and then to lock it, you basically press it till it's flush. That expands the rivet portion here, and then it's locked. At this point, 2 fasteners remain. There are those 4mm head screws. Just get them engaged here through the front holes by where the tabs are, and then tighten them down. Now we can grab the underbelly component. And if you remember, in the disassembly, the last part to come out were these ratcheting tabs. So on the way back in, the first thing to interlock will be those ratcheting clips. And now we can start fastening down from the front to back. Repeat these steps on the other side. Now we can replace the seats. And now the job is done. All right, we're done with the installation. As you can see, I have a beautiful set of signals on this bike. It set us back a couple minutes to install them. If I'm not yapping, this takes me about 15 minutes on this particular bike. As I mentioned in the intro, these are available for a number of different bikes. If you have friends who have different Ninjas, tell them to check us out, tstindustries.com. For this particular bike, we also have a wicked awesome TST Industries integrated taillight that's completely restyled, and it really goes along with the whole hexagonal theme that these bikes carry. Actually, the KRT edition of this bike has a nice hexagonal scheme of stickers and graphics to the aft of your signals. So that will match really nicely with the styling that we've put into these. Hopefully, you'll check us out at tstindustries.com. See some more parts for this bike, other bikes you may have in your stable. Ride safe. I'm gonna leave you with that. See you later.